All right, a couple of stuff which we're still gonna do. It's about getting ourselves acquainted to the practical environment. So we need to do ourselves acquainted.
Doctor, I have a suggestion.
Yes.
My suggestion is you're so busy with so many things. I was just wondering, is it possible to link us where we can interview each other? Like suppose I'm in the job market and somebody else is in the job market. If we could do like a session where I interview that person, that person interviews me, is it possible to do something like that so that we can practice?
You need to go through that validation. I'll need to validate a couple of people to do that because I want to make sure you're giving the right feedback. All right. I'm going to do that subsequently. I'll do that. That's a very good
that would be really great. Somebody who has like
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I think it's a good suggestion though, because then it allows that interaction amongst ourselves, so we can get a.
Absolutely.
It's a learning process. What I know, I can learn from what we.
Yes,
that's true.
I'll set that up. I'll communicate that before our next class. I'm gonna work that out. But then
then we could record it and show it to you, and you give us your valued feedback.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna work on that. Okay, that's a good suggestion, Halima.
What did I miss? Oh, sorry. Hi everyone.
Hey.
Hi. How was the weekend?
Good, and yes.
Good.
Since you're coming in late and since you're on the spotlight, you're gonna answer the first question for today. So the first question for today is can you tell us about story mapping and what tools you use in story mapping?
Oh my god. Story mapping. Doc, I don't know.
Who can answer that question?
I don't know anything about story mapping. Is it just like the way you're gonna like the how can I put it?
No guesswork, just answer. That's an interview question. So you need to start by thank you for that question, and then you go straight to the answer.
Okay. I don't know. I don't want to say something wrong. You say if you don't know, just say you don't know. I don't want to say something wrong.
If you were in an interview, how would you answer that question if you came back there and you really had to answer? You cannot do otherwise. What exactly would you say?
Thank you for that question. To my understanding, I think the roadmap is like the ways you follow to implement something.
Okay, thank you. And I think Shagun has an answer to that.
You cannot eat that.
Thank you for the question. Story mapping is all about having a bigger picture, bigger view of how the product process is going to look like. It's going to show the epic, the user stories, and how the release planning is going to be.
Okay, perfect.
Can I try?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for that question. Story mapping is very important tool in Scrum. It helps us to checkmate impediments if we do it very well. First of all, when we're doing story mapping, we use we story map in vertical form. That is making sure that every information every information is entered into the story that we are going to map. And when we are doing story mapping, we use what is called deep criteria. Deep criteria means that the story is deep. It can be estimated, and it's deep estimated. I've forgotten some of them, but That's a little bit I know about story mapping.
We can talk a bit more about DEEP, DEEP.
DEEP, deep, estimates, prioritize.
Emergent, the other E.
Emergent, yes, emergent. And when we do make sure that the story is meets the investor criteria. Thank you.
Deep is used in story writing and estimation story and invest. Now, story mapping. Now, this one technique with Scrum questions, right? If you don't know the technicality, use your common sense. For instance, if I say, okay, can you show me the map of your area? It just kind of tell you where what is located, right? What is located here, it gives you the idea. So when we talk about story mapping, it's just like, how are we going to do this? Like, yeah, what's the roadmap? What's the roadmap? Which stories are we going to start with first? Which one has dependency with it? So story mapping help you to see which one is important for us to take up, which one can we push to the end, and then it shows where do we have dependency. So story mapping help you to actually visualize what you want to do. And what are the tools for story mapping? Now, at the level of Scrum, it's just about the backlog refinement. That's where we actually take time to look at what work comes first and other stuff. So the backlog refinement, it's a session where we actually do our story mapping. Now, our story mapping it's also most of the time, you don't need this detail. I'm just giving you bigger detail to do that. During the release planning, most often the Scrum Master might not be part of the release planning. So if you've been asked questions on release planning, don't know, tell them in your company you are not part of it. You're not part of the bigger release planning, because release planning simply means that what part of the future are we going to release in June, in the next month, in the next month. Many organizations are still really into the structural project management cycle, where we still have a lot of decision coming from the managers, and the Scrum team only knowing sometimes what they need to do just within a couple of sprints and other stuff. Yeah. But if you were to kind of explain your role in release planning, to say you've been part of it, it's just you attend, you listen, just to have an idea of what is supposed to be released and what your team should be focusing on. So you play more of a listening role. You don't play facilitation role in release planning, right? Except you're the only Scrum Master in the company. That's when you act as everything, right? So that's it. Now, talking about the different techniques in story mapping, at the solution level, they use a technique called weighted, what's it called? Weighted job in first. So that simply means they try to look at what work if it's not done today, it's going to cost us more money if we're not doing this work. So they use that technique to be able to kind of prioritize, but that's at a higher programming level, where they decide what they're going to release and push out for the team to do. Now, the Scrum team is basically at the execution level. So most often when I see a lot of resume kind of go cross-functional team, across team, coach the management, coach, the Scrum Master doesn't do that. Your goal is to focus at a team level. And most often, if they give you two teams, especially in the safe environment, you will resign in less than 6 months, to be very candid. It's an easy job, but you need to understand that it's a highly mental job. In a Scrum environment, it's a bit easier. But when you get in a safe environment, there's too many meetings to even kind of take a break, because you're working, that's where there's a lot of cross functionality, dependency. Imagine you're building a product and you have 5 other teams building the same product, which means you have to be exchanging information. So you need to do a lot of collaboration. In a Scrum environment, there's just one team building the product and can be different. Yes, thanks for putting that in. It's called weighted shortest job first. So it's a very important technique. Weighted shortest, you're not supposed to know that. You can just, if you know that, that's a big plus for you. It shows that you've been participating at a highly planned level. The consultant are the one that actually determine the work that we need to do, and then actually release it to the Scrum team. Yeah. So don't claim to be a Superman when you're taking your interviews. They just expect you to know some of the basics. That's the reason. And they just ask some of the technical questions to see if you're familiar with the environment. So if they ask some questions and you're like, okay, I'm not come across that, it's okay to say that, than to say something that you're proving that you know and you don't know. It's a very kind of really big mistake to do. All right, so that was a good question to start with. How many people are familiar with Microsoft Teams?
Kind of.
Okay.
I've done a few interviews on Teams.
I use it every day, pretty much. This is my work for meetings, and you do create files, and actually, let's give you all the stuff that you can actually do on it. I haven't really sit down and navigate through everything.
Okay, perfect. The reason I asked that, about 90% of company are gonna use Microsoft Teams for communication and for even sharing documents and all this stuff. So you might just get a very simple question and interview like, what is the communication tool you use in your company? And it messes up the whole stuff. So are some of the practicality. Majority use Microsoft Teams. Some use Slack. Slack is also more like, let me see if Microsoft Teams operate a bit even more useful than Zoom, because you can schedule meeting on calendar, you can schedule team meeting, you can accommodate chat and other stuff. So I want to see if I can share that.
And you can record, basically a recording, it kind of capture word for word everything that is spoke. You can literally see the like a transcript of that communication. Basically, it captures it for you. But the one thing the advice is always, if you're in a team, like they advise me to always make sure that my team knows I'm recording. Sometimes I do try to record it just to go back to the recording, make sure I capture anything I'm used to in the meeting.
Yeah, that's very important. So one of the assignments we're gonna have is that I'm gonna have everyone get a free Microsoft Team account. Get a free Microsoft Team account with your personal email, and then you send me the email you used to register for the Microsoft Team account. I'm gonna I'll get a paid version this week. I'm going to add everyone in here, and one of our sessions we're going to have it on Teams, because most of the meetings you hold as a Scrum Master, most of them will be on Teams. So we need to start getting used to on how it really operates, how to do. So okay, if you've been taking some interview, you realize most of them are in Teams. Now, why is Team very important? Team is very important because I can come here and I schedule a meeting for Monday, and right here, let me put I'm just gonna put Scrum chat with, say, let me put, I have a meeting with Alfred, I put here. Now, anyone that is within my network, if I click add participant, I'm just gonna if I click add participant, if I start typing your name, automatically I will see your availability. When you work in a company, like you want to schedule a meeting for 5 people tomorrow, you don't need to reach out to them and ask them individually when they're available. When you put in all your names in here, automatically it's going to suggest the time that everyone is available. And then you can pick the time. If it's just with one individual, you can see the time they're available. Now they have the opportunity to suggest another time in there. Then this is also where you're going to set all your Microsoft, all your Scrum calendar. You come put maybe the topic is spring planning meeting. Then everybody that's required to attend. Then when you get everybody that's required to attend, you can now pick meetings that are daily. Meetings that are daily. This is what you do. You pick a week, and then you mark all the working weeks. You see, I left out Sunday, so I can select repeat every week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So like daily stand-up meetings, this is how you set them up. Then when I do that, if I want it to end on a specific date, maybe I want the meetings to run from March to December, or maybe I want to reset this after 6 months, I can just say all the meetings should end here and I save it. So every day at this particular time, I can decide to put, it's not PM, I want it to be 10 a.m. meeting. That's 10 a.m. meeting, and I'm going to pick a time from start to end. Okay, see I mess up. All right, so it has to be 10 a.m. Okay. What's happening to my box? Anyway, it's misbehaving. So basically, this is where you're gonna set up the meetings. Immediately you set it up here, it generates a link. It generates a link. So everyone that's part of the meeting, I'm gonna discard it, can be able to join. When you receive the meeting, you'll be able to join automatically, part of the meeting. So let's do this. One of our next meeting, we're gonna host it on Teams. So go to Teams, just go online, Microsoft Teams. You can also download the app, the application on your laptop. You can save it on your laptop. Yeah.
But the free version doesn't give you that much option to schedule, because I'm trying to reach out to them to pay so I can get all the other features.
That's what I'm also trying to do. Yeah, the free version doesn't give you that much. You struggle to schedule. All right. All right, perfect. So the first thing, please create first your account. Create a Microsoft Team account before you send it your email, so that immediately I send it, you'll be able to get an invitation on your Microsoft Team app that I'm inviting you. So create it first before you send me the email, and then I'm going to add you. All right, perfect. So our Jira session is postponed to Wednesday. I was supposed to do Jira today. So Wednesday, I'll run through the Jira, but we're going to look at how different events, what you do with Jira on different events. On daily stand-up, I think we've even done it in here a couple of times to say, okay, this is what you do when it's a daily stand-up. You open your Jira bot, you open, which one do you open? You go to which tab? Active Sprint. So you can be able to see how it is moving, right? I thought I'll be able to demonstrate that today, but for some reason I can't have access to my bot. So I'll get that sorted on Monday. So today, let's do a couple of Q&A for the next 30 minutes. And then we can do a practice of the spring review. And let's kind of repeat a retrospective again this week. I think last week the feedback and the interaction were really positive. Let's do something a bit different and challenging this week. So who has been having interview this week, and what's the most difficult question you have?
I didn't have any interviews. I'm hoping to next week they might let me know something, but I faced something challenging and I want to make it aware to the rest of you. So the end client is Chase Bank, but apparently their process is a little more difficult than other companies. So what they do is they send you an assessment test to the recruiters. So this assessment test was on a platform called Glider. I don't know if you guys know it. I've never used Glider. So the questions were very simple, 5 basic Scrum questions, which I knew by heart. But the only thing is they asked me to drag and drop the answers, like there were 2 boxes and you have to match it. Doctor, I just could not drag and drop the answers. I couldn't. It took me 5 minutes. I just couldn't figure it out. The time ran out. And then, the recruiter really liked me. We had a conversation and he was like, I hate gliders too. So I'm going to try and see what I can do for you. So he sent me a questionnaire and I filled that out.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. That's good.
Glider.
I haven't used Glider before, but then I think some of the two which you should kind of get familiar with, if you have like such there's most of them are timed, but some of them also I can say they're proxy. Some of them also are proxy, which means that you need to be on your camera. You need to make sure that you're not moving your head left and right.
Yeah. It had all of those.
Okay,
there was an invigilator, like the camera was watching me.
Yeah.
God knows if I cursed out loud. I don't remember because it was so annoying. I couldn't drag and drop and I was like, oh my God, what's happening here?
Yeah, anyway, it happens, but I think that definitely will not really be a challenge. If you kind of drag and drop and had everything wrong, it will be a problem. So sometimes they understand that as technology is new and it sometimes can be difficult. Yeah. Okay, Shagun, I'll go with you, then Emma, then Rasha.
Concerning what she was saying, actually this week, not too bad. I had 2 interviews. The first one was a company called Infosys, but the interview did not really go well. What happened was that there were 2 questions the lady asked me. She said, how do we do our release planning? And what I told her was that after our sprint review, 2 weeks after, we do our release planning. And then the other question she asked me was that she said, how do I handle our support team if we have tickets and all that? And what I told her was that if there's an issue, if a ticket needs to be raised, that the support team, what they do is that they create a Kanban board. That was what I said. So, but the interview did not go well. But the second one I had was with Chase Bank. The The only thing I know right now is that I'm going to do a follow-up this week with the recruiter, because the person that interviewed me happens to be their VP Scrum Master at their Plano, Texas. What he told me was that if that there are 3 stages, if I pass through this initial stage, that I'll meet the team that I'm going to be working with. Then he said after that, then the next thing is I'm going to be meeting with the Agile coach before they make the final decision. But what he told me was that the teams that are probably going to be managing is going to be 3 teams. He said that it has to do with their cyber security department and all that it's a team of 5, 6, 5. That was what he told me. Yeah. So, but I'll be doing follow-up with the recruiter on Monday. Yeah. But there was nothing like an assessment test. So I don't know what department and Salima is applying for, but the one is at Plano, Texas. So there was nothing like an assessment based on the interview I had with the VP.
Okay. Every department has its own approach, or so they handle independently. Every company, some will give you a video interview, and there will be already predetermined question. You will read them and you answer them in a video and you submit the first
Yeah,
video.
There's a high view. I've done a couple of this high view. They will send you. I think I did it with EY for a senior compliance analyst. This high view. They send you 3 or 5 questions. It gives you 30 seconds to prepare, and then you respond. But I think so. It depends on how some of them set it up. But you have 3 tries. The one that I did, you 3, 2, your final tries. That's what goes through.
Yes.
But high view is the mostly used. To my knowledge, it's the most used like a video interview. And you send it to resend it to them, and then they will follow up after them.
Okay, perfect. Emma, go ahead. I'm gonna respond to release planning and support team. I will respond to that.
Okay, so for me, this week I push the next step with the next level of my interview tomorrow. So right now, I'm very much nervous. I even told doctor, I'm wondering like, what kind of questions do they ask on this level? But for the ones that I have, they were not so much challenging. Pretty much we had gone through it in class, like this our class here, and doctor and I one-on-one had gone through. But what I want to share with us is the companies are trying to find out like what exactly interests you in this particular company. They want to know why you decided to apply in the companies you're applying for. So if we could go like to their website and try to find out some things about them, so we know beforehand, before they ask us that question, that would be good. And then another thing was like, try to trick me, and at the end of the day, I would have fallen in that trap because one of the interviewer was asking me what I usually do to improve my knowledge of Agile. So I told him I will read, and he's like, read books. I said, yes. He said, okay, give me a book that you read about Scrum or Agile. So I want to know the title of the book you've read about Agile. So I was not scared. I was not nervous. I was confident. I had heard about something like doing twice the work in, was it half of the time or something? So I told him, I read just one book about Scrum, but what majority of the time, like spending time in studying about Scrum, I do like group work with people who are already in the Agile space and advanced than me. I watch YouTube videos, but I told him that the name of the book was doing twice of the work. And then I was like, I forgot to import. I asked him, I said, hey, Paul, can you give me 1 minute to just look it up in my phone, because I actually downloaded it and it's in my phone, so I can read it anywhere I'm chance. It's like, oh yeah, you can go ahead and open it in your phone and show me. So I went to my phone, because I actually have that in my phone. So as I went to my phone, I was about to look it up. He's like, no, Emma, just let it go. I just wanted to be sure, because some people will say they read, but at the end of the day, they don't have anything to prove to me that they read. I know what you're talking about. And then he gave me the name of the book. So that's what saved me. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
It's a book recommended for everybody. It's called Scrum, the art of doing twice the work in half the time. So I think it should be on sale on Amazon now. But
yeah, that's what I was about to look it up right now on Amazon.
Yeah, it should be. The last time I bought it, I mean, I don't know about today though. Somewhere about
Fish, can you tell us a little about the book? So I might use that.
Okay. You know the title, you can find out more.
Yeah, I have one too. This one is kind of give you, it's a quick one from a breathtaking brief and agile introduction, and the element.
Can you please, sorry, JR, can you please write down in the chat box so that
put
we
in
can.
the chat box. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll share.
Rasha, go ahead.
Can we download the audio version?
All right, so I had an interview last week with this week with Blue Shield. So the only challenge that I had was this question about an external impediment that you've experienced, that you've faced. How did you solve it? So I was a little bit off topic, because I didn't know about any external impediment apart from the ones internally. So I wanted help with that.
Okay.
And next week I have, and this week, Tuesday, I have another interview with Blue Shield. That was the second interview. So I think that was it.
The one on Tuesday, is it a new company or a company?
Yeah, it's EcoTrack.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone had any interview with EcoTrack before.
Yeah,
right.
I'm expected to have one with Comcast, but I haven't heard from the recruiter yet.
Hey, about a year and a half ago, I was in Washington. We were watching.
I'm blowing up my phone all over Friday. I haven't heard from him yet. So I'll follow up on him tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. We have a couple of questions that came up. Now, the first one is about release planning. Release planning, don't look at it in a technical way, non-technical. It's just like we want to print. So let's say that if I offer to buy everyone in this session this book, right? Just as an example, I'm not buying it for everyone. So if I offer to buy everyone a book, then I need to plan how I'm gonna get it out to everybody. As simple as that. Any product you're building, release planning simply means you're planning how it will get to the customer. So most companies, since they're building software, they may plan their, they may have like your release planning it depends the software you're building. If you're working in a very fast-paced environment, let's say you're kind of working in a team that's dealing with security automation in a bank, you may have release planning every week. Why? Because it's something that they need to be on it like all the time. If you're working on, let me say, the planning to release a new product by next year, you might have release planning every 4 months to see what is going. So what just happened is just like, okay, we plan to build this for the past 3 months. So during that 3 months, it's just gonna be the daily sprint, the daily stand-up retrospective, bringing in the stakeholders to do demo. So your role as a Scrum Master in release planning is that you're invited to the release planning, which basically the management talk about when they're planning to release, and then if you have the product manager, they definitely the one that do the demos and other stuff. I've had some release planning in my company, like the lead, most often the development team took care of that, and we're in a daily stand up and so, oh, we need to demo the one of the face of the product to the client. I said, oh, I didn't receive an invite. So no, you're not part of it. So it's not in the company that you definitely there. So you need to understand that you need to understand what it is, but your role there, you're not a facilitator in most of the cases. You're just an attendant in the process, just to understand what is going on. And even the deployment is even more complicated. The deployment is more technical, except you're a technical Scrum Master, which means you have a developer background. You definitely will not really have much to do at the deployment. Right, so
yeah, I think I had a question like that. Like
okay.
they asked me what was my role in release planning.
Yeah, so that's how you respond to that question. Now, the support team. So also, not all companies have support team. Support teams are those who handle technical debts. The support team, if you're looking within the Scrum environment, the support team will handle the technical debt. So these are the team that will help to fix the bugs, the maybe work that has been deployed, and there's some technical fixes to be done. We send it to the support team, and the support team actually really take care to handle that. In some companies, the support team might just be an entire team, and their work is just we are taking care of all the bugs. I was attending a demo meeting, the company demo meeting in my organization. It happens every Wednesday. So we have about close to 40 Scrum team. So each team has like 10 minutes to be able to kind of do a demonstration of what they have achieved so far. Yeah. And then there's a team which is the support team. All what they handle is they handle technical debt. So we've handled these. We have a lot of tickets coming in on some of the challenges we have been able to handle this and this. Now, the question can still be asked in another way, which can be different. And the support team in this case might be just the technical team that handles like any queries from you as a Scrum Master. So you have to understand the question in kind of a diverse way, right? Like the technical team will be maybe the IT decks, those who you kind of go to when there's when your team has a challenge. Like for me, I'm not able to get to my Jira bot. I need to contact a support team to say, can you help me? Now, I had 3 people joining my team, and I needed to add them to my Jira bot. And I know how to add them, but then the administrative access doesn't allow you to do that. So I had to reach to the support team. Now you need to know who is in charge of what. And then I reached out to the guy, and he was able to support me with it. So support team can be with the Scrum team, which is under technical dev. Most companies don't have that. We don't, in my team, we don't have a support team. It's at the level of the organization. You might not even know that it exists. So you might just be focusing on your team, and you might not even know that it exists. Yes, Rasha, you have a question?
Yes, you said the support team handles technical debt. So I wanted to ask, if they ask you a question like, you as a Scrum Master, how do you handle technical debt? Do you link it to the support team?
Okay, if you say you have a support team in your organization that handle technical debt, then you push that question away. So your team doesn't handle it. There's a support team in your organization that handle technical debt, right? But then, if your organization is not that big, the technical debt comes back to your team. So as a Scrum Master, if the technical debt comes back to your team, the first thing you do is that you don't re-estimate it, right? Someone need to own it because it's considered as work already done. So someone somehow need to own it and then complete to fix the defect. And that's why there's a support team, because the support team in most companies is useful and is implemented because now if that work come back as technical debt and we bring it back into the team for your team to re-estimate it, then your velocity will show like you've done the same thing twice again, right? And you might be showing that, oh, you completed this number of story points. Meanwhile, majority of them were technical debt, things that just came back. And which is one of the reasons. Some company might say, we don't care, just re-estimate them, right? But then the best approach is that when they come, someone quickly just say, okay, I'm going to fix that, and they take care of that. But then you as a Scrum Master, what you do is that when they say they're going to fix that, you might put it as a ticket, but don't assign a story point to it. Yeah. All right. The next, yes, Alfred.
Yeah, so is it possible that, you say, out of curiosity, they may ask if what tools do you use in terms of if you don't have a support team, or what tools does the support team use in terms of what application do they use with the ticketing?
It's just going to be the same way you run a normal, you handle a normal ticket. They take it in, they look at what amount of effort is going to look at it, it's going to take to complete that. So, and then they go ahead with the work. Because if it's a technical debt, it comes back with exactly what is not working, right? So it's clear what you need to fix. Since it's already work done, it's going to come back with a lot of clarity on maybe we run the API and we realize that the feedback or it wasn't receiving the email rightly, the login wouldn't work. So it's more like you're troubleshooting that effect.
Doctor, yes. I got a question, please. I need you to please just try to throw more light on that technical debt. You said it's going to be a new ticket. Is that correct?
All right. So technical debt. Let's understand technical debt. When you plan a story, let's say that we are building a website for a new hotel that has been created, for the new hotel to start accepting booking, right? And start accepting payment and all get ready. We build the first part, which is going to help clients to already start picking out which room they want. And we deliver it to the hotel. And then a customer that is trying to book out the hotel and say, oh, I've been trying to book a room for like 1 hour and your browser will not really move. I don't know what's happening. Now, what happened? The hotel management reached out back to the developer team. Okay, we're having this issue from our client. Now that work has been delivered as completed, and then there's an issue coming back. That's a technical debt. So because the company, the hotel is not going to repay for it again because that is what they pay for. It's just something which is technical, which you, the development team, probably have some issue with building that up. Maybe there was something missing. So when it sent it back to them, now that is technical debt. So when I say it comes back with a lot of clarity. It's a detailed ticket on its own. It's a ticket that comes with a specific complaint from the client or from the customer, right? So what I'm saying is that in as a good practice, you don't go back and re-estimate that like the full story. Like you will take it back into the sprint planning and do all of it. In a company, let's say we're a company and we build so many multiple websites. Now we're going to have a unique team that will handle all of those technical debt. It's just like if you start logging into your work email and it's not working, what do? You call the IT team. They check what is happening. and say, okay, we assign the ticket to the app management team. That's a support team independent that is put aside to manage technical debt. Technical debt, because they weren't expecting that to happen. They were expecting it to function fully. So, but then it's not functioning fully. Ola, is that clear enough?
Correct. Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate that.
Okay, perfect. Now, the question, what interests you in this company? Very important. It's good to always kind of look at a company, have an idea of what they do, right? And see how you can plan to do buy in the value. Now, for most of the companies, you agree with me, about 95% of them provide vital solutions to people, be it in the insurance, be it in the finance fee, be it in the those who are just delivering solution and other stuff. Now, one of the response I always give is that, oh, I saw that your company was into finances, which means you're helping a lot of people. And already, my passion is just to work with people and help people. That's the first thing that really attracted me. I want to be in a space where I can be of service to people. That's what attracted me. As simple as that. Don't go complicating stuff, because you might want to give a deeper presentation of their company and then you mess it up. So I will stay at a very high level. If you have taken some time to do reviews on your company and they go well, you might say, oh, when I was looking for a job, I was looking for a company that has a very good public reputation. And when I Googled you, I saw that you had 4-star. I said, okay, this is a company I work to. But you must have done that assignment, right? So if you have not done it, just like what they're doing, say, oh, I just saw that you're in a business of helping people do this. That's what I like to do, just help people. I just want to be where they're helping people. I think, oh, this is a better place to belong. That's why I came here. So that's a simple way to go with it. Okay. And then the other question was external impediment. What do we mean by external impediment? It simply means that it's outside of your team. It's a problem that's going to come externally. Now, when you look at the problem that are going to come externally, and you as a Scrum Master need to handle it, it means that you need to deal with external stakeholders. So the first point is, okay, how will I deal with external stakeholders? I might not have the space to book one-on-one with them and coach them as I will coach my stakeholder. Anyway, before I go to that question, point about coaching stakeholder, about coaching your team member. We tend to use coaching a lot without contextualizing it. What do I mean? Now, coaching is an integral part of what you deliver in the team and not something you do separately when it's a problem. Coaching goes with your behavior. Coaching goes with the way you relate with your team. So every day as you're working with your team, you're coaching. All right, for instance, I'm talking about managing external stakeholder, and I'm giving a caution about what you should do about coaching. Now I'm coaching you on how to answer that. So as a Scrum Master, it's not something you're gonna do extra from the work that you're doing. It's an integral part of your life. And then when you're talking about coaching, now management do not like to be coached. Anybody at the management, they don't like to hear that you coach them. Now they're considering that you're like a junior staff member, right? They're hiring you at a higher level. So if you that's why most often they'll ask you that question. How will you do if a senior? That's a trap. They just want to see how you relate with them, right? So when you're dealing with stakeholder, which is your manager, putting out work to you or so, the way you coach them is by bringing up the value of the company, which is the goal. right? So let's say they bring in so much work. What you're going to do is that you create some time with them. Don't say I'll book a one-on-one. A one-on-one simply is used mostly in the more of peer learning or more of a typical business of you trying to get something. For your team, a one-on-one can be okay. But when you deal with a manager, so I will create time with them. I will find some time within their availability, and I will try as much as possible to get them understand how what we are doing is contributing to the bigger goal of the organization. So when we start talking about the goal of the organization, they will be able to clearly see why what we're doing and what the effect can be on the biggest goal. Because sometimes they're doing that, they might not really know what the team is going through and what might be the after effect. So when you're talking with them, the goal is that, how does that matter? How is it going to affect us? Remember, at management level, their goal is we need to get this out by May. And I happen to be in a team where my manager is the one that accepts kind of most story into done, not the product owner, which means that when he comes in, he says, okay, let's do this. And he said, okay, we need to get this ticket done before next week. I don't care what happened, you guys need to get it done, right? Now, what happened, you are the Scrum Master and you're in that meeting and you need to deal with that situation, right? Definitely the manager. So what you do, most of the time, what you deal with the situation is not by telling him, oh, Mr. Manager, this is a Scrum team, we're self-organized, you can't just come in and tell us what to do and what not to do. No, he's still the manager. I always say, remember, he's still the one to sign your paycheck. So when you're coaching, or when you're dealing, interacting, you always need to be aware of that. So that is fine. What happened at that space is that now, if they're planning subsequent work, you just bring us a question. Team, remember, definitely we don't use title. John has said we need to get this done. So when you're taking up more story, remember we need to prioritize this. So can we also want us to take out some story before we kick off and not doing that? So while in his present, you're bringing that consciousness to say that, okay, he's put us on work, so he should not expect the team to see deliver fully because he's pushing the team to go most of this way. Now, before I come to those who are raising their hand up, external impediment will be something like you're dealing with a security, maybe your project need to get some input, let's say from an external company like AT&T or an external provider. And for some reason, they're always pulling you back on time. For some reason, they're not always getting you back on time. And then you request a meeting to talk with their management, which means you're going out of your own team and you're talking to an external vendor. So the way you deal with them is, first of all, to make them, to acknowledge what they're doing and to show them your timeline of delivery and show them what really happened in your team when work doesn't come in first. Now seek amendment with them on what you can do in order to, what can your team do? Do you want your team to send in everything they need to send 5 days ahead of time? Do you want my team to be able to send you a reminder email every 2 days before the deadline? But internally, especially if it's about story, internally, what you do is that you always need to set internal deadline early. But coaching, dealing with external management is about buying in, trying to make them see some value, trying to help them understand what you're doing and how what you're doing, it's kind of being important to them. So it's all about, the goal is all about sharing value and making them see value in the space where they might not be seeing value. Yes, Shegun.
Yeah. From what you were saying earlier, the Chase guy that interviewed me, one of the things he mentioned to me was that he said if they hire me, that the people I'm going to be working with their engineering team, and he was explaining to him from what you were saying that the product owner can come anytime and just tell me that there's a new user story that we need to do ASAP. And he said because of the fact that their department is like a cyber security department, that if anytime the product owner tells me that this thing, we have to do it immediately, that it means that it has to be done as soon as possible and all that.
Okay, yes. So that's an internal problem. So what you do is that you need to prepare your team to know that requirements are constantly changing, and you have someone to have an open mindset to know that we're working in a very fast-paced environment and our requirement can really change. So you prepare them to just say, hey, team, be open at any time if there is something that's coming up.
But yeah, they probably go to session.
If there's something that's coming up and we need you to work on, please step up and support. So you coach the team. In that case, also what you also kind of mention is that, okay, if this is a case, then my team will already be prepared for that, right? Now you are not the person making the decision if your team should take it or not. The Scrum Master doesn't force work on the team. And you as Scrum Master should protect the product owner from forcing work from the team. So in that situation, the first thing which you must have already done is to let the team aware of the constant changes that may happen. Now, the second thing is that if the team is aware, when it comes up, you already identify some of the people that can handle that. So you can do a one-on-one chat with them to say, hey, Peter, this ticket just came in. I know you're handling this. Is there a way you can be able to take this and kind of leave this? In a situation like that, you need to really have a hand-on experience on what every member is working on and what allowance they have in taking up new work. So you can quickly, if you do that, like I have like a book where I also write, it's in the Springboard, but I always write that. If something urgent happens, I can be able to go and see where I quickly have space for this stuff. I could send them a private message and just negotiate with them. Can you take this? Because I don't have to wait for the next maybe daily stand up to do that. Yes, Catherine.
So I just want during the second phase of my interview, I think 4 of the questions came from my resume. So make sure you study your resume and you're able to back it up because he read it out. He was like, "Can you throw more light on it?" So study your resume, because they can ask a lot of questions from your resume.
Yeah, that's very correct, and that's why those who have very complicated resume, they find it very difficult in interview. They just get now. This is the case. Most of those who are in the interview panel are not Agile coaches, so they don't know more about Agile. Most of them have been developers, so they might just want, and they're picked by the company. Now, I scheduled interviews for my company, and those who are interviewing are pure developers. And most often what they do, I don't always attend them though, I schedule them. And that's one of the good things about teams. I schedule them, I don't need to be there for them to come in. They just look at your resume. On the full line of your resume, I saw that this. Can you tell me about this? On this, I saw, so if you put in something which is a bit complicated and you don't understand, work it out. Yeah.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yeah. Let me have Rasha,
I want
then
to
I
go
come
back.
to you, Felix. Just hold on.
Okay.
Yes, Rasha, go ahead.
So I wanted to be clear on that external impediment. Do you talk about the stakeholders when they ask of external impediment? Because you just say the manager. Is the manager an external impediment when he's like putting a lot of work to the team to commit?
Yeah, the manager can be an external impediment. The manager is not part of the team. So you can have different cases. Now, one of the stuff you also don't want to generalize during your interview to say, my stakeholder is a whole big word. So you can use the manager, or you can use, I was working with a contractor who was supposed to help us with a security issue with one of our story. And each time when we plan out the work within our story, we knew that this was an external ticket. And most often they will not really deliver. So I needed to talk to their manager on how we can handle this, right? So that's an external impediment. Now, an external impediment can also be you dealing with maybe the security support team, your company, right? Which means that many of your team members, it's a simple one, many of your team members are constantly being kicked out from their Jira board or stuff, and it was really disturbing the flow of your work. I needed to talk to the technical team in charge of that to be able to see how to resolve. How would you handle that? Now it's just about finding a common ground, trying to first of all seek an understanding why this is happening, and then look at how you could come to a balance. But in this case, since it's an interview question, you need to be practical. For instance, you can say, okay, I was having this issue where most of my team members will have technical difficulty accessing their calendar, and sometimes they will not really see invitations that comes in, and it's because and when I meet with the security team, which was an external impediment, now they explained to me that they had some certain app in their computer that were kind of kicking them out constantly. And although these were like important applications they needed to use, so we needed to find a way on how to work on that so that did not really happen. But then you can also disclaim, unfortunately, I've not really had so much in external impediment, but if I have one, this is what will happen. So you don't always have to accept everything. If it's something which you don't, it's like, unfortunately, I've not really had this issue, or I've been lucky not to come across this. But if this was the case, this is what I would do. In that case, your response will be theoretical, right? Not really pointing on something practical. Yes, Sir Felix.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the question our brother Segun asked before. In that situation where the PO comes in and is giving multiple tasks to the entire team, and when you have a meeting with the entire team and you propose to the technical department if they can handle this, and in case that situation cannot be handled, so what will you do?
Okay, very good question. Who can answer that?
Can you repeat it?
Can you repeat the question?
Prof, in that situation, can you propose the work to be given to a different team since you are operating at full capacity?
Okay, that's an option. What's another option? Let's look at a different option and we'll see why which is right and why which one is the better way to go. So this is a question. The PO is always pushing out much work to the team, and it's kind of urgent work. And then you need to resolve it. You need to be able to find a way not to let that happen, to handle it when your team is at full capacity. What do you do?
Let me try, Doug. Maybe you pick out some of the, maybe you talk with the developers and see and then you ask me if one or two people could opt to do the work first and then continue with the main work of the sprint.
Okay, so you want to cause your team to burn out by taking so much. Okay,
So for me,
go ahead.
I think I'll answer this question by saying that I'll schedule a meeting with the PO to talk to the PO about giving the team too much work that will burn them out, and we won't be able to deliver valuable software. So why don't we prioritize our stories so that when we are committing to any sprint, it should be going in with the top priorities than bringing extra work when we are already committed to another work.
Okay, that's an option.
Let me try again.
Yeah, go ahead. Then let who else want to try? Chris. Then later we'll have Chris. Yes.
Okay. One of the options I will do is to call the developers and we have a discussion with the PO. If on how we can go about it. If the story is very important for us to carry on, we can exchange from the stories that we have already in our backlog. We can send back some of them that have the same story points back to the product backlog and do the ones that the PO brought. That's one. Another way we can do it is to get some people from another department, another department to help us, as in help us do the story, to take care of the story, maybe.
Okay, let me.
Okay, Doctor, I wanted to say, since we always prioritize our story points before we start, can we like drop some of the story points that are of less priority at a particular point in time in order to take up the point brought forth by the product owner?
Okay, that's an option, but I'm going to, I just also brought up a very critical issue which we need to address.
Let me just say something about that too. I think we'll increase our buffer time, like, instead of 2 hours, let's make it 3 hours, 3 hours. Since is something that is happening constantly. That way we can handle such a situation.
Okay, increase buffer time. Who else has an addition to this? All right. The first question on having a discussion with the product owner. Now, you need to understand that the product owner is part of your team. So you're meeting with the product owner every day. And definitely, maybe the product owner is also part of the planning, every step. So having a one-on-one with a stakeholder, with a product owner, it's definitely it's a low priority approach or also to resolve that. Now, external help is also not an option because as a Scrum Master, you don't have management power. So you cannot request external help from. You need to escalate it to the management. Then the management will see if they have more capacity from any other team to get to your team. So you cannot just request external help. It's not that easy. Now, also talk about buffer time, which is about adjusted planning. It's very important. That's one main important solution. You do adjusted planning, which means that since this is a frequent occurrence, when you're planning, you are locating time during your planning for such event to happen. So that's readiness. You know that you cannot do away with it. So you plan that during backlog planning. That's the first way to accommodate this. Now, the second way to accommodate this is to liaise with the PO to make sure he's having constant meeting with the product, with the stakeholder prior to every planning, to make sure that he's asking developer questions. What are we looking forward to deliver ahead of time, and all of that. Now, which means that you want the frequency of the meeting to get more clarity over what might be coming, what are the unexpected, so that can also be planned. If you have a meeting and they say, okay, we probably will be expecting something within the next 1 week, we're not too sure or so. So you alert your team already during the spring planning. Now, another way to handle that, all right, yes, is to recommend to the management on effective release planning, because majority of these happen because they're not too sure of what will go out next. So, but then in the case of which is a security issue, it means you don't have control over release planning, right? It needs to be done as it's done. But in the case where it's just a general question that is constantly happening, the main point is going to be look at the release planning. Make sure you can work on the management to look at the release planning, get more plan ahead of time, and also allow some buffer time to be able to handle that. And with a discussion with the product owner, meet with the product owner. Like you can, for instance, I have a day in a week. I meet with my PO just to have a discussion. Are there some certain things you need help with? Do we have the backlog ready? Are the stakeholder giving you a lot of stress? We talk about this like in a very non-technical way. Hey, I hope those guys are not giving you so much help. It's like, oh man, this guy. I'm having one guy that's then I can just give an advice. Okay, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? In an informal way. So you can also do that and it's gonna help you. Lege, can you ask your question? Your hand has been up for a very long time.
All right, thank you so much. It wasn't too much, it's not much of a question. I was about asking if a developer or a team member happen to like quit, or maybe happen to, we lost a team member, and as a Scrum Master, is that an external or an internal impediment that you have to handle?
It's an internal because it has an effect on your capacity. We say if your plan works, then that's an internal impediment. But then what you do is not that you look for a replacement. That's an impediment you escalate to the management. And the management go ahead to look at what they need to do. All right.
So if the management doesn't handle it like within the period where you're trying to meet up with your spring work, does that become an external impediment? Or please, I don't know if my question is okay.
That's still a team impediment. The team is not able to perform well because the capacity is low. It wouldn't really be an impediment because you only plan based on your capacity, right?
Okay.
So if a team member actually go, except it's a critical role that cannot be replaced, then it will make the team not to be cross-functional. It will bring the team now to a low-performing team.
That's right.
Now you need to look for a replacement. The team now go through the 5 phases of team development, through now forming, storming, numbing, because a new member has joined the team.
Okay.
Before I forget, I think one of the suggestions was that we can pull our work to the backlog. That is a no. As work has been pushed and planned during a spring meeting, even if we're having maybe 30 story point added, we don't pull our work to the backlog. Number one, let's say that if you're constantly pulling our work in and out of the backlog to adjust to what is coming, at the end of the spring, because before you plan the spring, what happened? You have a velocity, right? Let's say your velocity was 40 story point. And then in the middle of the spring, the PO is adding 21 story point. And then you go into the spring and you pull out 21 story point to bring in the other 21 that the PO has added. It's still going to show that you're at the velocity of 41. So if at the end of the spring, you don't complete your work, it shows that you're a low performance team because it's not indicating that your velocity added. So if I come in as an external reviewer and I see that you committed to 40 and at the end of the spring was still 40, nothing changed, and you did not really do that much, how can you explain? So you leave the work in the spring backlog and you only prioritize. So you go, I wish I could have access to my Jira board. You go to the Jira board, you have a place where you can put work as priority. You assign the work as priority, and the other one that they'll be working on, you assign them as low priority, which means that if they have not finished the priority work, they cannot go back to this. Now, at the end of the spring, what you're going to have is that what? You're going to have spillover, which means any work that is not done is carried over. But then the reason is that when you now have your spring report, you're able to see that there is so much work that is being added as the team is moving on. So because of that, that is a challenge. So if you pull in, pull out, the next Scrum Master that is coming in will not have the right track record to coach the team. All right. Hope that's clear enough. Florence.
Let me just quickly add something to what Lege was saying. When it's a developer maybe resigns or leaves the company in the middle of the spring. So what our advice is, as a Scrum Master, is always advisable to inform your developer to constantly update just your tickets, your stories when they are working on it. So that if someone happens to leave, any other developer can hop in, see where you left, what you have done, and just quickly get on it and complete it for you.
Very important, and something developer ignores a lot. So it's something you check during your daily stand-up. So, oh, I'm working on this story and I move it. It's now on review phase. And then when you're looking at your Scrum board, it's still in progress. So you need to get them to do it. And the way you do it, my team used to do that a lot. So, but then I started kind of putting it on chat. Now, one of the most important way which you know to coach your team is by using Teams, putting message on Teams. Now in Teams, there is a section where you can put message for all the group. So before every stand-up, when I noticed that was happening, before every stand-up, I go in Teams and I say, hey team, good morning, it's a great day. We're gonna be having our daily stand-up in about the next 2 hours. Please make sure you update the bot so that the PO can see in reality, in real time what you're working on. It is the work of the PO with the stakeholders. And I did that about 1 week, 2 weeks, and everybody started updating. So that's the way you can get them to really stay on top of that. Right. Who has a question that has been troubling them and they're not finding an answer?
Can I add something to the external impediment? Can you correct me if I'm wrong? Is like a license expiring, could that be an external impediment?
Yes, and that happened to me this Friday. Normally I work as a contractor, and as a contractor, the role in the company, every 3 months, they need to renew the system. So it happened that mine was, he kicked me out on Thursday night, breaking Friday. So I had access to nothing. So I needed to go back to request my manager to go to the technical desk, and then the technical desk reached out to me. We set it up. I wasn't able to access my passport and all of that. So that's an external impediment. That's right.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Any other pressing question?
Doc, I have one question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
The question goes like this: what is Sprint O and Spike?
Okay, what is Spring O? That's a theoretical question. Spring Zero.
Yes, Spring Zero. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's a theoretical question. Who knows what it is?
Well, yes. If I can take a shot.
Yes.
Can I try it?
Yeah, go ahead. Hold on.
Well, it's just like the name goes, it's zero sprint. That is more like the sprint before the actual sprint. More like a planning, but we don't call it sprint zero, but that's what it means. Just to get yourself prepared before the actual sprint starts.
Perfect. That's the perfect response. It's just readiness. So in the readiness, maybe they're looking at if we have some enough stories to kick up with our first sprint, if everything is in place, if our board is okay, and if everything is set up. So some people kind of refer that to Spring Zero. So there's no work done, it's just about planning and putting things together. So in most cases, the people who start the Spring Zero is the PO. The PO most often is the first person to be hired in the Scrum team, because the PO is the one that starts having conversation with the with the stakeholders, right? And start collecting the requirements, and then have some requirements, and then look at if they can bring in some developers. And then most often the Scrum Master might come in the middle just to push the team ahead. And also you asked about a spike, right? A spike. Who know what a spike is?
Can I try?
Do.
Yeah. Tonya, go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's a form of research work.
Yeah.
That you're doing a kind of findings on the requirement. When you look at the requirements of your clients that the PO puts in, the developer needs a kind of deep knowledge about certain requirements. They need more information. They want for them to deliver a kind of value to the customer. They want to go in and really look for and to gather more data about the requirements and do their findings.
Okay, perfect. A spike simply means that for us to be able to work on this story, we need more research. We need more stuff. And now, one important thing, try as much as possible to keep your response as concise as possible. Right? And now this is one way of doing that. With some of the frequent asked questions, write it the way you would say it. Write it down the way you would say it. And during your interview, before your interview, just glance over them. It gives you like a good heads up. And for the one that you cannot really memorize them, do what? Use the sticky note. Write on a sticky note and put it in front of your computer. It's gonna give you much confidence. Just the one that you kind of, I might miss this, I've been struggling with this. Just put a sticky note and put on your computer like this. You know, even if you're doing a proxy exam, before you do your video and camera checkup, get your sticky note on the side of your computer before you do that. All right, technology is made by man, so we can always work on technology and make it to favor us. So that's one technique to go around it. Okay.
I want to add some concerning sticky notes. We have sticky notes too on our laptops. You can just create your sticky notes in your laptop. You go to the start button, you type sticky notes. For those using Microsoft, we have sticky notes. Your interview can be going on with your sticky notes on the screen.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That is right.
Even like I use OneNote a lot. OneNote too, you can leave it on the screen while the interview is going on.
Okay, now you're having some interview hacks. All right. Now let me ask a couple of questions. What is UAT?
Can I try?
Yes.
UAT is user acceptance testing.
All right.
Okay. And what is the use of UAT?
I really don't know.
The final phase of every software development. So that's before it get into deployment. We do user acceptance testing. Is the user going to accept this before we move it to the final phase of the product development?
That's where make sure the features are work. Basically, the features work as intended.
Yeah, that's right. What is one thing you love the most about your last job? And what is also one thing you hate the most? So you need to do both. One thing you love the most about your last job and one thing you hate the most about your last job.
I think you need to pick on someone.
I can try.
Yes, oh yeah, go ahead.
What I like the most about my team is, first of all, the collaboration. The fact that the team.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Now, number one thing, please pay very close attention to the question. It's very important.
Okay.
About your company. Now you're talking about your team.
Oh, I thought about
your previous company. Yes.
Okay. About the previous company, I love the company culture. The diversity of the culture of the team of the company is. I like the fact that they bring in every. You can find every race in the team. Everything is like mixed up. And I also love the fact that the company wants to stand out. They want to grow and they keep increasing. So the growth in the company is something that I like. I look forward to see that also in the new company here. Then also the company is a company that is growing and expanding, always looking forward to add value to what they're building on. They like, how do I put that? Okay, they like to stand out and to be number one, to be very competitive. So that is one thing that I appreciate about the company the most. So
you said three things. I asked for one thing, and you said three things. You already said. Okay, guys, it's a technical question, right?
Yeah.
Scrum is a leadership. They're not only looking at your correctness. They want to see if you're answering the question that is asked to you. So if I ask you, tell me about UTA, that is what I need. Then if you continue, because remember, as a Scrum Master, you're keeping the time box, you're facilitating. So if you're not staying within that question, you can really go with open-ended question and navigate around there with stories, that's fine. Okay. But when you say, what is one thing, try as much as possible to stick to one thing.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, diversity is what I love the most.
Perfect. That's an answer. All right. What's one thing you hate the most?
So far, so good. I don't think there's anything that I hate about the team, but it's maybe one thing. Oh my God. I'll just tell them there is nothing that I hate about the company. It's just the fact that my contract is up and I'm looking for
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the negative things are always difficult to say, right? We can always say good stuff. So, Catherine, what is one thing you love about your old company and what's one thing you hate?
I love the culture of my company. One thing I hate, I don't hate anything.
Okay, thank you. Emma, you want to try?
I would still say I like the culture of my company, but unfortunately, I do not really hate something that I hold on to about my company now.
I'm looking for someone that hates something. Yeah, you want to try?
Let me try.
Yeah, sure, try.
How to say
so what I like about my previous company is that they are innovative, and because of the culture. And one thing I hate about my company is that my work is coming to an end. No.
Okay.
One thing I hate about my company is that there is no room for growth and development. That's why I'm moving forward to another company.
Perfect hate. All right, that's a perfect hate. Now, who has something else to
Okay,
add?
I have something. Let me go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I like about my company is their culture, and if I can say something about that I hate with them, it will be the change. They are slow to change, makes me feel like it's not a comfortable place.
I wouldn't really go to that with that one because it's sensitive. It's sensitive. Okay, perfect. Now, you want to shift away from culture. Culture is something really big, which you don't want to like culture. You want to be precise. One thing I love about my company, I love the fact that they invest in their leadership. Fine. I love the fact that they invest in learning. I love the fact that they hire competent people.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the people, they are very happy people. Yeah, so say something specific. Don't go generic. Yeah. One thing I love about my previous company, I love the fact that my manager was very super easy to deal with person. Yeah. Now with the hates, now you can say one thing I hate about my previous company is the fact that they don't have a full-time agile role. That's why I wish I could stay there, but they don't have a full-time Scrum Master coach. So, and also looking about the kind of really things to say about a hate, which you probably want to look at a positive hate, not really a negative hate. Yeah. So it's more kind of in that direction. All right. That is great. Okay, any other questions? We're rounding up in a couple of minutes. All right, I have a question, and I'm going to ask this question to Bridget. What metrics would you look at when you're measuring the velocity of your team?
The metrics I will look at to measure the velocity of my team is the burn down charts in the, I'll use the burn down chart to see where the team is in their sprint, how many story points are completed.
All right, thank you. Shegun, you want to answer that question?
I will make use of the burn down chart also, yeah.
All right. Salima.
Okay, sorry.
Burn down chart. Definitely.
Okay. Ola.
Okay, well, the first thing is performance of the team. As a Scrum leader, as a coach, I'll check the attitude of the team. That's one. The burden charts, the Jira board, and those are the three variables I'll check.
Okay. Smith, Alfred, you want to try that?
Yeah, I think I'll go with the burn down chart. I was thinking about it more. Probably the Jira board as well.
Okay. Perfect. All right. This is a question. What tool will you use in measuring the velocity of your team? Now, velocity is a tool for measuring performance, right? So it's kind of a really specific question. The metrics of velocity is story point. Number of story point they complete That's what you use to, that's the metrics you use in measuring the velocity. Story points. Because the velocity, let's say at the beginning of the sprint, you see how many story points your team is going to take. That's the start of velocity. At the end of the sprint, you see how many story points are completed. So the metrics of velocity is story points. It's a very tricky question. Yeah. Can you close it there? It's, yep. It's a very tricky question. Now, if we're talking about performance, measuring performance, you use the bend down, the bend up chart, and the velocity and the team velocity. But most importantly for performance, number one is first of all the rapport you build with your team. That's the first phase of you measuring performance. So you want to see if your team is communicating. That's the first phase you start measuring performance. Secondly, you want to look at your springboard. How fast is your story moving? That's how you measure performance. And then before you go now to start looking at the bend down chart and the bend up chart, the bend down chart and the bend up chart are the product of what is happening on your springboard. Yes, so those are the product. So just by looking at the way the story completed, you can already have an idea about that. Now the velocity chart is now the product of the sprint. So it happens at the end of the sprint. At the end of the sprint, you'll be looking at the not the bend down. Yeah, bend down and bend up chart are very useful during the sprint. At the end of the sprint, you want to look at what? You want to look at the sprint report. So the sprint report is a summary of how many story points that were completed, how many that were not completed, which one is in development and other stuff. So I don't really like to talk theory like this, but next week we're going to look at that when I have my Jira board. So I'll be showing you all of this in there. Okay, and Sunny Max a question, what tool do you use to coach your team? Simple but very complicated question. Who want to respond to that? What tool? And let's keep our response, do a 30 seconds response. What tool would you use to coach your team? Florence, you want to try?
Someone else should go. Anything.
Okay.
I think I'll go with
Doctor, can we say we use the mirror?
No, the mirror.
I would say
I'll go with
the
Zoom.
Jira board.
I'll
say the Jira board. That's what I use to coach my team.
Okay,
I check
board,
the
board.
stories.
Okay, what else? Who has an alternative?
The Microsoft team.
I think I'll go with Zoom.
I don't think there's a tool to coach a team.
That's why. Read the question again. What tool will you use to coach your team?
You don't use a tool to coach your team. I think so. I think it's more of how you develop this communication with the team and between you, like an open communication between you and your team. That's a specific tool to coach a team. Yeah, I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Yeah, Shegun, let's hear from you then.
For me, I would just say one-on-one conversation with my team.
Okay, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the tool, there's no particular tool, to use to coach. Normally, it can either be a one-on-one session to have a conversation with somebody. Maybe they're having a gap and you want to close the gap. So it can either be you dealing the person on one-on-one or you coaching as a team. And when you're coaching as a team, you want to either facilitate, maybe you've listed some of the gaps and you're trying to close them one by one. So you're facilitating, so you're using either the Jira board or you're using like a board that you know, like a whiteboard or something, you're just trying to explain some things, you know, to the team. So it's more or less like facilitation, and you're using either Jira board or you're using a tool that can express what you're trying to show them.
Okay, perfect. Now talking about the tools, there's definitely no when coaching is just about we having a conversation, right? The medium we hosting is Zoom. Now, but then a tool to coach a team, it's you. You are the tool. So it's about the techniques and how you will coach a team. So I think it's like, how will you coach your team, or how do you coach your team? Now, the different ways through which I coach my team, if I'm responding to this question, one of the ways is definitely creating a space to have conversation with everyone. I do a lot of one-on-one with my team members, having personal time. Personally, in my organization, I do happy hour once a month. Every last Wednesday of the month, we have 1 hour where the team meet and just talk about culture, talk about fun stuff. People bring up ideas. It's just a creative space for people to do stuff. And just one of the last one I have was about just bringing my team together. And then prior to the happy hour, we put that, okay, everyone should come along with a music they were listening to in the 90s and share a story why they love that music. So they kind of had to play that music and share. And it was a whole learning stuff. So my manager was also there because it's part of my team. And he brought a record player and he played like music it was so much fun. So we get to learn a lot about people culture, about what was happening during that period. I think one guy from Mexico shared a music that really kind of brought a lot of controversy and brought some major transition within that period. So it was so much learning and fun. So that's a way to, those are some of the techniques you can use to coach your team to be high performance. Coaching is about building relationship. So alternatively, it's kind of, how do you build relationship with your team to help them do much better?
Perfect. Okay. Doug, please, can I add something? Please let me know if it's correct. So can you say like you use the values of Scrum, and then you let your team evaluate, like you let the team members evaluate the team using the values of Scrum? Is
Yeah,
that
that can be a technique you're using in a session, right? But then the values of Scrums are good, but you probably would not want to deal with them independently, like, oh, you're dealing with openness, you're dealing with trust, you're dealing with, you deal with them as an integral process. All right.
Doctor, yes, this one, it may sound a type, but because normally we are not really involved in technicality. But what in a situation where like you guys are developing some story in respect to, let's say, a software to be used by a particular company, and then you as a Scrum Master, you think, not like think, or another story that can actually help in the software, who is the best person for you to channel it to, or you just sit with your idea and die with it?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, so if you're a technical Scrum Master, that's a plus for you because you can coach your team on some of the approach of developing the story. So you're gonna throw that up through the best way to channel that, right? Since you're a Scrum Master, you know who's the back end, who's the front end, who's in charge of whatsoever. You can first of all kind of meet with one of the person working with that and discuss with them one-on-one. I'm like, oh, I was thinking about this. What do you think? What's your idea? What's your idea about doing this? So that's going to be more of a creative one-on-one space or so. So you get first of all individual buy-in, especially with the person dealing with that. And in most of the cases, you want to now allow the person to introduce it, right? Because if you introduce it externally, it's good, but sometimes it probably people might not take external input likely. They might feel like, oh, maybe you want to prove to them that you know a lot and other stuff. So it's all about managing people. So when a new idea always come up with my team, what I do is that I get one-on-one buy-in. I use team a lot. I just chat with them. I say, hey, guys, what do you think about us doing this? What do you think about this? Like, oh, that's fine. Then I do this for everybody. So now when I'm bringing it up in maybe our retro, in the next retro, it doesn't sound like I'm trying to impose. Everyone already have like idea of what's coming up. All right, great. Okay, so for this week, what do we want to focus on? Number one, you want to focus on your mindset. You need to be able to get your planning going in today, Sunday. Get what you want to do for the week on paper. Write it down. If you don't write it down and it's just in your head, it's going to be a bit difficult and challenging for you. Write what you want to happen this week. If you want that job by the end of this week, you need to write that and start acting on this story. If you're having a last interview this week, you need to put that, I want this interview to be my last interview, and I want to have a job and an offer by this. You need to start putting into the faith action of it. Number one, when you're quiet, someone else is speaking for you. And when they're speaking for you, they will be speaking for their own advantage, right? So you need to get into some step of faith this week. Number two, you need to be able to build your confidence to tell yourself you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. If you cannot do it, you have some doubt, definitely reach out to me. We might just have a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute call, and that's going to solve the whole issue. Now, sometimes we think that we need so much in order to get to the next level. We don't really need so much. Focus on the little improvement that you need to make. Like, be able to identify what I'm lacking in and then improve on that aspect. Don't try to work on everything at the same time. It's very important for you to look at, try to identify the gap. When you identify the gap, act on it. Don't act on everything at once. Number two, last week we spoke about leveraging the power of LinkedIn in order to stand out. Majority of recruiter, before they ever, I'm not recruiter, hiring manager, before they reach out to you, they kind of somehow double check you on LinkedIn. Most of them do that. You want to make sure that you have a LinkedIn profile that's outstanding. Last time I shared on how you can put a bit of post in there. If you don't know how to create posts, just go and share someone post and put a comment there. Share it back on your profile and just say, oh, wow, this is a great stuff about this. Let it show that you're active. Now, when you show that you're active and don't just have a, now there are, I think, millions of people on LinkedIn. So when they hit a search bar now, let's say Scrum Master, there are about 100,000 Scrum Master pulling up. What is going to make your name appear at the top is how active you are. There's algorithm in the social media that rank you up. So go there, just like, send requests to other Scrum Masters, and just to add them in there. If you create content, just write one thing about it. Yeah. When you do that, you start seeing a recruiter reach out to you directly without you even reaching out to them. And most of them that reach out to you on LinkedIn, most recruiters that use LinkedIn to source, they actually have like direct, because that's extra time. People that don't want to use LinkedIn, they just go through the application tracking system, pull your name up and give you a call, right? And then number one thing, if you're receiving recruiter's call and you're not getting to the next level, most often it might not have anything to do with your resume. Sometimes it might just have to do with your application strategy. Number one, the recruiter is interested in submitting as many recommendations as possible. Maybe you're waiting for when the job is sent to your email before you apply, and they already have about 100 applications in there. So by the time they get to you, the rest of them is an automated message. As they click, sorry, we can move to the next one. It's not a personal message. They automate it and it can go with everyone's name. That's email automation. I do marketing, I do email automation. I can send an email, come to 100 people, but it come personalized with your name. It come personalized with your, and it's not going to show you that this email was sent to 100 people. So those are some of the stuff you need to know. Now, where you should be concerned is the fact that you're not getting any call at all. If you're not getting any call at all, it's a very, very big concern. You should be able to get calls. Now, if you're not getting calls, a couple of things might be wrong. Number one, the application strategy. Which are the different application strategy you're using? Everyone in here should be on DICE. Now, on DICE, when you're applying jobs on DICE, when you go to the search button, search menu and put a job, you should be selecting jobs that were posted within the last 4 hours. Don't go and apply for jobs. Pay attention to that. Don't go and apply for jobs that maybe has been in there for 1 month, 2 months, and then you say, oh, I'm applying for 100 jobs, I'm not getting any call back. No, take your time, read through that. Now, you also, another powerful technique to get your application in front of the recruiters, you can go in your area and you type 100 companies in the DC area hiring Scrum Masters. They're going to pull up. Go to their website and apply directly. Go there, open your website, go to their job portal, see how you can put see if they have open application, put an application directly in the site. So it's very important for you to be able to diverse the way you're doing things. If something is not working, the reason you have a coach is that reach out and say, all right, I've been trying this, it's not working. I've been trying this, it's not working. And also taking a note, I'm going to, I'll take time to go back and take some of the previous mastermind and put them back for those who are still coming in new. There's been a lot of, most of these questions, we've been going through them over and over and over again. I think there's no interview question we have not come across, we have not discussed during this whole session. So there's nothing new that you're going to come, except you're not paying attention and except you're not taking your time to go back and look at the different information. So very important. Just the fact that you're in this environment is just enough opportunity for you to win. Number one, I don't go for anything less than value, right? That's why we're focusing on creating opportunity for everyone to get in. But I'll try to create, this week was super busy. I think even on Saturday, from 7 to about 2 was one meeting to another. So I'm creating a doc for the meeting for the team. I think I have about 50 questions I've answered, with which you can conveniently go through. But it probably might take some time to get us. I'm also kind of a bit skeptical that if you get that, you become very lazy. And thinking that it's not only about knowing the answers, it's about knowing the presentation. It's about knowing how to navigate around it as well. Okay, perfect. Oh yeah, and any last comments? As 5 minutes, we're closing down.
Yeah, just a quick one, Prof. Because of just what you mentioned just now, and I know that I have 2 interviews for this week, and I know that this particular question normally comes up all the time. What is your expected salary? Like, how much are you expecting? And I know that there is no wrong way or right way to answer this question, but how do you respond, technically to this question? I know that sometimes you can say something and they say, oh, our budget, they now come out and say our budget is below this, and they move on like that, So how do you respond to this?
All right, the response is you need to know the average in your area. So in your area where you're interviewing, always look for the average. I know that in the Dallas area, it's about 100 to 110. So I'm gonna say, okay, I'm looking for something within the range of this and this, depending on the benefit. So I'll give a range, depending on the benefit. If they say, oh, our budget is lower than that, then what benefit come with your budget? So can you give me a reason why I should go with the budget So, or what are some of the advantage? Simple question: what are some of the advantages that come with your position?
Okay.
Yes. Rasha.
So what I usually say is, I'm interested in her in getting the position and believing that I know that your responsibilities are different from where I'm coming from. Then we can negotiate on the salary based on my job responsibilities. I don't know if that's right. I usually don't say nothing about the
price. Yeah, that is also a way to go it. You can just say I'm open to negotiation. What do you have?
Okay.
Yeah, it's right.
Because I just try to stay away from the salary. Maybe they may give it, they might be giving something that is higher than what you said, or something lower than what you are expecting.
That is right. But that's
so
why
you can also give them a range. Like I usually put it at 120 to 140 range. Say, hey, so long as it's economical for both sides.
Yeah.
You give them a range. If it's 100 to 120 or 120 to 130, whatever your range is, like you said, look at the market. So I know for a fact in the DMV, the DC metro area, for most of the ones I've looked at, it's somewhere within the 100 and 130. I think within the like 2-3 years experience, if you put it at within the 2-3 years experience. It's also experience I use when I was doing the consulting, audit, and finance. Indeed has a really, you go to, what's it, pay, I forgot what, it kind of gives you
It's Glassdoor.
the rate in every major
Yes,
city.
Glassdoor.
What they call them, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. What? Oh yeah, you should book a one-on-one this week.
All right. Thank you.
And Shegun as well.
What about me?
And me.
Thank you.
I have my own interview on Tuesday.
Rasha will have a quick interview with you, not really a one-on-one, but a quick one. You 80% good. I might just ask you a couple of technical questions to see how we can go. And I think what you should be working on now is getting that stable mind. Don't be afraid of those people. Just do that. What you need more is building that confidence and talking to them as friends. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I'll talk to you before your interview. Emma will talk to you as well.
So, what time tomorrow are we gonna have our sessions?
I'll text you. I'll put on the calendar and text you. I saw your text. I'll respond to that.
Doug, a quick question. What's the difference between coaching and mentoring? Because they asked me the question last time I was. So how do you differentiate between coaching and mentoring?
So as a mentor, what you're more like a standby person for the team. When they have questions, they can come to you. They can come to you for advice. They can come to you for any stuff. So as a mentor, you probably might not be engaged like with the day-to-day activities. You might not be working towards particular goal. You're like the go-to expert, right? Coaching, you're there for the team. You're helping them. It's a daily stuff. You're setting goals. A coach set goals. Let's meet this. Let's meet this. A mentor might set goal, but it's not obliged. For instance, you can say, "Oh, I want you to be my mentor." It just means that when I have questions, I can come to you for advice and other stuff. But then, if I say you're my coach, we need to set goals. We need to work towards specific outcomes. Yeah. So a mentor can still be someone you look up to without even having a one-on-one with them. Somebody you follow them strictly on social media. You learn from them. You learn from their way of doing things. All right, perfect. Let's make it a day. Okay.